key challenge, has been that so far in the market, not enough good quality vehicles existed. And reason why not enough good quality vehicles existed is because not enough entrepreneurs applied their mind and built a vehicle from scratch. Almost everyone was trying to play the cheap Chinese mobile strategy, where they would import a kit from China and build a vehicle in India. The challenge is that the Indian road conditions and Indian consumer expectations are very different. I can't. I always remember this example when I was growing up, and my mother had a TVS scooty, must be 20 years back, and this scooty took four of us. Once it required to, because we didn't have a car. Four of us on this scooty, maybe more than 200 kilograms on the vehicle, and it worked. Went short distance, but it worked. This is outstanding. An Indian customer expects a lot more from their vehicle, and Indian road conditions are far worse. If you find smooth road, that's an exception. Even in Bangalore, you find so many potholes. So what are we talking about? You can bring something from China, but it will not last the Indian conditions.
Hi everyone, I'm your host Siddharth Aluwalia. Before we dive deep into this week's conversation, I would like to thank our sponsors, Prime Venture Partners. Prime is a high conviction, high support investor backing star teams with differentiated ideas. All partners at Prime work actively with the entrepreneurs post investment to accelerate building a great company. Prime focuses on building differentiating companies whose solutions are 10x better and are powered by technology and product. Prime is now investing from its fourth fund of $100 million dollars and is often the first institutional investor in category creating tech startups such as Quizzes, MoneyTap, Neo, and Dozy. To know more about Prime, visit primebp.in. Today, I have with me Arpit Agarwal from Bloom Ventures. Arpit has been part of Bloom investment team for more than 7 years now. I have known Arpit since his time at T Labs in 2012-2013, where I pitched him my startup Adodoc. Since then, Arpit moved to Bloom, and again, Arpit was kind enough to take us to IC at Bloom. Though we couldn't partner, Arpit has stayed as a good friend over the last 6-7 years. So great to see your journey, Arpit, and welcome on the podcast.
Siddharth, it has been lovely to see your journey too. I am very happy to call you as a friend. When we first met, it was like a founder pitching to an investor, but it has gone beyond it. And I have particularly very high regard to what you have managed to accomplish with this community of 100x entrepreneur. It is fabulous. It is doing very well, and keep this up. You have been doing a great job educating everyone about various aspects of startups and opportunities and venture capital. Plus, of course, you have a day job. I'm fully aware of that. It has not been easy, I'm sure, and for me, it is a total privilege and a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Arpit. Thank you for being a cheerleader and a supporter for 100x. Uh, Arpit, uh, today we are going to talk about electric vehicle market, which is one of the most talked about things in industry, in consumer today. Uh, as you highlighted in our offline conversations, auto industry constitutes around 8% of India's GDP, and there are right now for everyone who has been affected positively or negatively by it, 2 million electric three wheelers which are used for transporting, right, a group of four or five. They're especially seen
Yeah,
in metro areas in Delhi, wherever the metro reaches. Right, there are the most popular means for commuters to either go to a metro station or to come to their home from a metro station. So we see
this is
this,
true.
this is a lot popular. So, and they have been here for the last 4 5 years, right? These three electric three wheelers, uh, and uh, would like to start by overall identifying the size of the electric vehicle market in India, right? And then slicing and dicing into various themes. Over to you, Apit.
So, so Siddharth, electric vehicle market can be seen as a replacement of the entire auto market in India. To me, everything that is IC engine driven can be electric vehicle, like barring a few exceptions. There was a time when diesel locomotives are very common, and today diesel locomotives are becoming unusual, being replaced with electric. Electric is going to take over everything for a variety of reasons. One is that electric vehicle makes economic sense in many cases. Therefore, it is simply a rational decision to make for most people. In other cases, electric vehicle saves, does not have any pollution, or at least it moves pollution away from cities into faraway locations where thermal power plant may be based. So that is another positive. And on top of everything else, electric vehicles can offer a few features. They are by default connected. They are software first. They are autonomous driving enabled. They enable sharing better. They can be autonomous better. It is a different paradigm and a much better paradigm from what we have seen. Therefore, the entire 8% that you're mentioning, auto and auto component industry in India, 240 odd billion-dollar opportunity can be entirely talked about in electric manner. Of course, it will take time to build and get there. Today, we don't have enough solutions, but that to me is the massive opportunity that is out there, and it is very similar to this continuing this massive trend of software eating the world. Here is where we are. That software is really going to eat this world as well, and very much in India.
And what are the different segments you have to point out where the electric vehicle transformation is happening right now as we speak?
One important segment is a segment of commercial vehicles. In commercial vehicles, whether you talk about four wheeler or three wheeler or buses or even the two wheeler delivery guy, all of those segments are what is called as total cost of ownership (TCO) positive. What TCO positive gives you is that it makes it rational for people to adopt a new technology as compared to the old one, which is already positive. In other segments, because the massive cost of the one of the important things about any vehicle, any electric vehicle particularly, is its battery. And batteries are about 50-60% of the cost of the vehicle. As the cost of batteries is coming down on a per watt hour basis, the cost has been touching almost $100, which is very good from a global perspective. Once it goes much below that, more and more segment will become TCO positive. Therefore, you expect more and more people to start making this rational decision. The only question that remains to be then answered is whether you have a very good quality vehicle available, or you have enough charging and swapping infrastructure, and there is a natural user journey that people have gone through on adopting it. There is social proof. There is also to some degree of the range anxiety has been put to rest. A lot of maybe policy should support in helping people buy those vehicles. Financing should be available, and a bunch of other things. But the first important thing is TCO positivity. And I'm noticing that in India we have also published an article. TCO has been positive for several segments, and that is the place where we'll start.
So let's compare a TCO for a total cost of ownership for a petrol bike versus an electric bike uh, for the first 5 to 10 years of their ownership for an
So
individual.
let's take a 5 year use case of not a bike, because not enough bikes exist in the market. Let's talk about a scooter. Let's say
Yeah.
an Activa, Honda Activa scooter. Someone who's using Activa for 25 kilometers on an average, personal use case on a daily basis. This will cost you between 80 to 90,000 rupees today in some cities in India, because B6 is make the cost very high. The vehicle will not give you an average of more than, let's say, 35, maybe 40, sometimes 45 on a per liter basis. So that's about 2.5 rupees per kilometer. On top of it, there'll be maintenance, because an IC engine has a lot of moving parts, so they require maintenance much more than an EV. The maintenance cost is high, the running cost on a per kilometer is high, fuel cost is high. However, it also has a very established resale value. If you take a Honda Activa, let's say, and I'm using Honda Activa as an example, if you take it to the market, you will find some value out of it, right? So that value is also established. So there's but people can do A, which is capex, B, which is per kilometer cost, C, which is maintenance, and D, which is resale value, and you can come to TCO. If you move this for an electric two wheeler, for argument's sake, it is an Ather or Ola two wheeler, you will notice that for personal use case, the TCO is already positive. You may spend slightly more in buying the vehicle, but you will recover much more than that in the fuel cost, because the per kilometer running cost is much lower. There is hardly any maintenance because there are no moving parts, only one motor and a few other components. Everything else is very similar. No oiling, no refueling, no overhauling, no spark plugs, and so on. No carburetors. And even if the resale market is not ready, which is not the case at this point of, which is the case at this point of time, you will still make TCO, you will still assume the TCO to be positive in this particular market. You can do the similar calculation for a three-wheeler cargo. You can do three-wheeler passenger. You can do it for intra-city buses and so on. And the reason why e-rickshaws are so penetrated in India, almost 2.5 million e-rickshaws exist across India, is because someone figured this out very early, that this particular form factor works for commuting, taking people from the last mile from a metro station to their homes. And that is taken off in a big way without any government intervention, and thankfully it has happened. And which is where we got very excited to say, okay, if this particular market can be served, we can make a very large business, which is where battery smart had come, and we'll talk about this in a bit.
And the fuel for an electric two-wheeler, Ather or Ola Electric, is electricity from a charging point. So what's the per unit per kilometer charge uh, over a long period of time, if you have evaluated that?
So imagine a Ather carrying about 4 to 5 kilowatt hour battery. I think I don't know exact specification, but let's say that much. So charging a 5 kilowatt hour battery will be about 25 rupees, because 5 rupees is a kilometer in Delhi, for example. Delhi has a rate in your home, and you can then run it for at least 80 kilometers. So 25 rupees is going to run 80 kilometers. The cost is in the range of 30 paisa. That is much different from the 2.5 rupees per kilometer that you were running a petrol scooter on. And that is fabulous. Think about it. You're gaining 2.2 rupees per kilometer. That's outstanding. So that is going to make a lot of difference. The key challenge, please note, Siddharth, has been that so far in the market, not enough good quality vehicles existed. And reason why not enough good quality vehicles existed is because not enough entrepreneurs applied their mind and built a vehicle from scratch. Almost everyone was trying to play the cheap Chinese mobile strategy, where they would import a kit from from China and build a vehicle in India. The challenge is that the Indian road conditions and Indian consumer expectations are very different. I can't. I always remember this example when I was growing up, and my mother had a TVS scooty, must be 20 years back, and this scooty took four of us. Once it required to, because we didn't have a car. Four of us on this scooty, maybe more than 200 kilograms on the vehicle, and it worked. Went short distance, but it worked. This is outstanding. An Indian customer expects a lot more from their vehicle, and Indian road conditions are far worse. If you find smooth road, that's an exception. Even in Bangalore, you find so many potholes. So what are we talking about? You can bring something from China, but it will not last the Indian conditions. Then also there is temperature. China has a much better temperature, and Indian electric battery is temperature sensitive. If you run the battery at 40 degrees, which is the case in most cities in India, most years, most time of the year, the battery is only going to last half as long. So the cost is going to go up. So someone has to really solve all of these problems, which is why I think one important reason why you don't see a lot of vehicles being adopted is not, of course, because the charging swapping infrastructure doesn't exist, but also because good quality vehicles were never provided to consumers. I'm particularly very excited about the two wheelers that Ather and Ola have launched. That they seem to be the right vehicles for mass adoption in India. Of course, I'm not taking anything away from a large industry. There are very very strong players. There's Hero, there's Okinawa, and there are a few others which are Ampere, for example, very very good companies, and they have some very good product. I haven't unfortunately ridden any of them, but I know they are very good products. Just that I feel more excited about Ather and Ola, also because they are more closer to our world than not.
And if you have to, you know, uh, go back and put a price on each market, because as a VC you have to analyze the size of each market. Let's say, so let's do that. What would be the size of uh, the battery market, right? Which is used in three wheelers, and in a positive case, if all 2.5 million electric
E-rickshaws.
three wheelers start
Yeah.
using this swappable battery, what would it amount to in terms of a market size?
So we have a company portfolio company called Battery Smart. It's one of our recent investments. This company allows for replacement of lead acid batteries into lithium ion batteries on a swapping basis. I will tell you why it works for consumers in a bit. But very important part is that each vehicle will take about two batteries roughly at a time, and then you can replace them. So 2.5 million rickshaws can eventually take 5 million batteries, and these are small batteries, about 2 kilowatt hour or smaller. And you can, they're also very light, about 10-12 kilograms, can be lifted by one hand. So that is a market in just electric rickshaws. If you talk about 2 million, this is again installed base. This is not per year. Per year, I think about 100,000, sorry, about between half a million and 1 million e-rickshaws get sold every year. So that's a separate market. But I'm just saying installed base. India has more than 20 million two-wheelers being sold every year. And if I simply make 10x of that number's installed base, we're talking about 200 million, 220 crore two-wheelers which are installed. Each of those can carry one of these batteries. So the battery market is mind-blowingly large. And I'm not still talking about trucks and cars, which are much heavier vehicle, will require much bigger batteries, and therefore they will require someone to put lot of cells in them. So the market is, I can't, let me just add these up. Just in two-wheelers and three-wheelers, I would expect the market to be in the range of 300 million batteries, if not more. And then we are not still talking about four-wheelers and buses and load-carrying vehicles and so on, which are much larger themselves.
So for example, when you invested in Battery Smart, and they are currently providing swappable batteries for three wheelers, and they are majorly
Yes.
present in
Correct.
Delhi. Uh, so what made you excited about this particular market size, right? This 2.5 million to 3 million swappable batteries in these three
See,
wheeler.
everyone thinks that the challenge is to make a vehicle. And engineers like you and me think that making a vehicle is the most exciting thing. So to be able to twist twist something, and the vehicle starts running, racing ahead, is an exciting thing for most engineers. But I think the key challenge after you have made a vehicle, and a good quality vehicle, is also to figure out how will the vehicle get charged, or if it requires swapping or not, and so on. This is one of the important cold start problems of India. Not enough charging swapping exists because not enough vehicles are on the street. There's not enough demand, there's not enough supply, and this becomes a vicious cycle where no one is able to break it. There have been government mandates where EESL has put charging spots, fast charging spots in many parking lots in Delhi, for example. I'm sure elsewhere also. But number one, they're not being utilized enough. So how will EESL make money on them? Because government mandate, they put them there. Second very important thing is not enough demand already exists. And if demand exists, if the depth of the availability of charger is so low, it is not penetrated enough, right? This is not, it is not available where you want them and when you want them. Therefore, there's a need for entrepreneurs like Pulkin and Siddharth, founders of Battery Smart, to say, okay, let me not deal with solving a cold start problem. Let me solve the problem which already exists. For example, an installed base of e-rickshaw, 2.5 million vehicles, 50 million, 5 million potential batteries which we can use. It's a humongous market. They're currently only at about 13,000 batteries. Much larger is going to come, right? So this is going to grow very, very fast. Where the demand exists, if I can make the business work, if I make the transaction work for this one user, then everyone will copy. And as a consequence, today they have no cost of acquisition. They have 3,600 vehicles today on the street, and they are having a waiting list of more than 10,000 e-rickshaw owners, because everyone has figured this out. Earlier, you used to make 600 rupees. Now you can make 1,400 rupees. Who doesn't want to make 1,400 rupees? As a consequence, if Battery Smart makes money on a per day, per transaction basis, so good. But I also make money as a e-rickshaw owner. Why would I not take it? That is very exciting. And when I found that, this is like a this is like a market waiting for being disrupted. All you need to solve is the supply. And today there are institutions who are willing to also give you supply. Well, then simply need to match. And Pulkit and Siddharth have excellent operational capability. They are scaling up like crazy. I'm very excited about them.
Got it. And now let's talk about the electric commercial vehicle market and exactly where uh, Euler Motors is placed
Yeah,
in, right?
yeah.
What were these institutions, enterprises using before Euler Motors for transportation?
IC engine vehicle. In Delhi, CNG is very popular, so people use CNG. It's also cheaper. In every other city, people use diesel three-wheeler cargos. These three-wheeler cargo vehicles have a higher maintenance, have a higher running cost, and as a consequence, they become much more expensive to run. The simple argument, simple sale for any of the e-commerce express or delivery or Udan is that earlier a monthly cost of three-wheeler would be about 35,000 rupees, and you cannot bring it below that, because the driver will have to make money, the owner will have to make money, finance it has to pay the EMI, etc., etc. But now the only hope that you have to reduce this cost, which is roughly about 75 to 120 rupees per last mile delivery, is by moving to a new technology called electric. So you can reduce a dollar down to 75 cents. And that is the only way they're going to make a lot of money, which is the reason why, and of course, they're smart people, so they've figured this out. And they're just waiting for a good quality supplier of the vehicle around. Once the good quality supplier vehicle is available, they will simply lap it up. They will get all their vendors to buy those vehicles and put them on their fleet. Yeah,
And
sorry.
how many Euler Motors vehicle are on the street right now with these?
Currently, about 250 vehicles on the street. They are yet to launch their L5, but some L5 are running in pilot right now. As we speak, the launch is about to happen. So when the launches happen, people can actually go to a showroom and buy those vehicles.
And is there also a large waiting list for Euler vehicles by these
Yeah, huge.
enterprises?
Again, this is a market where waiting lists are a norm. So Euler has written orders of more than 2,000 L5 vehicles, which is almost our next and entire year's supply. And we are a small company still, right? We can't make so many vehicles. And we probably will not be able to service the demand, current demand, and more demand will come. So yeah, there is a waiting list.
Awesome.
They always had a waiting list.
And the third market, which you said is that Bloom is serving, is can you throw more light on that market and which is your uh, portfolio company which is solving it?
So one of our most recent investment is a company called Electric Pay. Electric Pay is solving it's a diametrically opposite problem uh, of charging infrastructure. The reason why charging infrastructure does not exist, very interestingly, as I mentioned, because not enough demand exists. If demand does not exist, then why will someone install charger? If there's not enough charger, how will people supply? So if you go to a three wheeler or any electric vehicle dealer, the key challenge they will tell you is that not enough charging points exist, which is why people don't buy them enough. What one needs to do is, if I can reduce the cost of installing an infrastructure to really really low, let us say, just for argument's sake, I make it $15, right, as compared to today it may cost you as much as a couple of lakh rupees to install a charger. If I can reduce that to so low, then I wouldn't mind just installing them everywhere, right? Suppose I have $15 worth of $15 per charger, and this is the cost of operating a charger. It's a simple low cost AC charger. It runs on a mobile app. You can simply scan a QR code, it switches on, and you can charge your, and then this is how much time you have used. It will give you a billing. And if I install them everywhere, your office, your home, your residential complex, your parking lot, if I install 10,000 of them in Bangalore, suddenly at my cost, and I wouldn't have spent too much money, only $150,000, about a crore rupees. If I have done this, then suddenly entire Bangalore will start experiencing EV revolution, because now you buy whatever vehicle you want, charging is available. 10,000 is a lot of charging points for a city like Bangalore. That is the key thesis behind investing in electric pay. We were very lucky to find these entrepreneurs in Raghav and Avinash, who have come from with very strong credentials from Ola and Sun Mobility. And I think next 1 year is going to be very very exciting, because now The way to solve cold start problem was two ways. One is either you go to a established demand, or you make the cost of supply so low that it wouldn't hurt you. The first one was battery smart. The second one is electric pay, where the cost of supply installing supply is so low that you wouldn't mind putting them up, even if the initial utilization may be quite low.
And what's the traction which electric pay would have right now?
They are so as of today, they are yet to install their. They have some test boxes installed, but in the next 1 month, they are going to install 2,500 boxes across Bangalore.
Wow. And these are compatible with every electric vehicle. Uh,
This is compatible with everything because it has a simple three-pin charging point. You know the 16 ampere point, and every vehicle comes with a charger. So you can simply put the three-wheel point there, scan with the mobile app, and yeah, charging starts.
and how much does it cost for a consumer to make the full charge happen at their point?
2 units, which is maybe 5 rupees per unit or 10 rupees per unit. That's like 10 or 20 rupees.
And this get charged in 15-20 minutes?
It doesn't, unfortunately. It is a slow charger, so it will maybe take you 2 hours in some cases to charge them. But most people wouldn't mind it because they're in an office or they're at home, and that is not a problem. Also, please note that these vehicles that are being charged on this network are also they don't have batteries that can take fast charging.
Yeah.
The batteries are not made for fast charging. So why would they go to a fast charger? They will not go to a fast charger. And most people see average people when you're sitting at home, like I'm talking to you right now. If a vehicle is being charged outside, I wouldn't mind it.
These are very three interesting markets which you have taken, positions in, Arpit, as Bloom. What are other parallel unexplored areas in EV space, which you think entrepreneurs can still explore and innovate, where there is still large opportunities left?
Okay, I think that we have only begun. So yeah, three opportunities, three investments made, but lot more remains to be captured. Let me take a step back and give you a overall framework of how to look at auto market. See, one important activity is to make the vehicle. So that's the OEM world, like
Yeah,
Euler and others. Euler's three-wheeler, maybe two-wheeler, there'll be four-wheeler, there'll be others. And older OEM, Bajaj and Tata and Mahindra and TVS are very, very strong companies.
yeah,
So why wouldn't they make an Ather and Ola? All of these are the OEM businesses. Second, you will need someone to be able to put the energy in them. So buying a vehicle is one thing, but putting energy is another. So it could be Sun Mobility, it could be Battery Smart, could be their competitors, and there are 5 or 10 companies which have also raised small amount of funding in India. Those will also come in this market, and the opportunity is to have hundreds of such companies because imagine if there are millions of vehicles on the road, millions of charging ports also have to exist. Otherwise, it's not going to work out. So someone has to install all of those. So energy providers is one. Behind the energy providers, grid providers have to work out. So there's a massive opportunity of someone to be able to give en bloc energy supply to these charging points, right? You can now get into a contract, and your supply may actually be happening from a wind power station sitting in Satara, Maharashtra, and the vehicle may be charged in Bangalore because you have the supply agreement in this particular case. So there is a need for someone to broker these two, and there is a need for even the utilities, let's say a Bescom in Bangalore and other companies in other cities, which will establish the infrastructure where the line will be established to come to this point. Third important thing is you have to look at who will maintain these. See, today the vehicles that exist are largely mechanical in nature. So someone can really, with a screw and something, can really open this up and check what is happening or not happening. In electric, everything is in software. So someone has to be able to read the software. Someone has to understand what is happening, and maybe software already is giving you the error codes. You simply need to read them out and work this out. So this is maintenance, right? This currently doesn't exist. Fourth is someone who will then, once you have done with the vehicle, you have to really sell the vehicle out. If you go to VV Road, I remember selling my bike on VV Road many years back, 12, 13, 14 years, 14 years back. Someone has to buy those vehicles, right? So that people know that if I buy a particular vehicle, I'm assured of this price a rough price after a certain point of time. When all these things exist, the horizontal layer below them are financing providers. Today, almost 70-80% of vehicles which are sold in India are finance vehicles. Hardly anyone buys them in cash, right? So these financing providers have to exist. Today, unfortunately, not enough financing options exist, and those that exist are very expensive in nature. So financing options have to exist, and currently the larger banks do not yet have a product, except for e-rickshaw, which public sector banks have some product. Almost everyone else does not have a product. For example, if I want to buy Ather or Ola, I don't know how many financing options exist. I'm sure there are some, but I just don't know about them. But more need to happen, and the cost needs to come down. Fifth very important pillar of everything put together is, can someone match demand and supply together? For example, can someone be the can be front end for an e-com express to engage with multiple vendors which are providing e-rickshaws or e-scooters or three-wheeler L5s or even four-wheelers as they come along and so on. So there's a market maker that exists. This is a massive opportunity. I don't think enough of them exist as of today. That people like Euler will have to sell directly to work directly with the end customer. And then if you put all of these put together, then there is a massive need for someone to reuse the battery into some other use case. Can I take the scrap value of the metal and take something else? All of that ecosystem has to put together. This is after the vehicle has been sold. Before the vehicle has been sold, there is a need for someone to provide the battery, the motor, the electronics, the software, the chassis, and this is what is called as auto components. So this entire thing is electric vehicles market. In my opinion, all each one of these has a potential of generating several unicorns in the next 5 to 10 years. Today we have no companies yet, but I'm sure there will be a lot of companies which are going to be created and scaled up in this segment. I don't think we have enough done yet. We just started from a venture capital industry perspective. We have just gotten started.
And I think, except early stage, uh, established venture firms like Bloom,
Yeah.
late stage funds are yet to take bets in this market. Uh, so I think that will propel entrepreneurs with further
That is an
capital to.
important piece. We have been working with several funds for Euler Motors and also for other companies, but they are still making up their mind. They don't understand this market as well, or at least they are not as clear as I am talking. Again, I am clear, but I don't know whether this will happen like this. They're not sure if my opinion really is going to stand out, like is going to matter, but we'll see another couple of years how exactly this turns out. But yes, one important thing is that maybe a few established venture capital funds are not interested, but there is a company called Blue Smart Mobility, which recently raised money from BP. I think that will probably start to happen, where people who are already in the energy market will start to invest in these companies, or people who have experienced success, like for example, an investor of Tesla, may be interested in investing into Euler Motors. I wish that will happen, but yeah, those kind of things are bound to happen from international markets into India.
So, Arpit, let's talk about Bloom's very first investment in connectivity and shared mobility space, which is Yulu, right? How did that journey has played out? If you can put some data around that, and how is
Well,
it going right?
Amit is a special entrepreneur, Siddharth. Amit has been, of course, founder of InMobi, yes, but I have now seen his journey on the sidelines for a long enough time. I think he's one of the most grittiest entrepreneurs that you will find. So it would have been, because he was available and he wanted to take money from us, we wanted to invest in him. So there's no question. Even if he was doing something completely different, although this is a much larger and much more interesting opportunity. Today, Yulu is everywhere. It is in every town. It is on everyone's mind. A lot of people depend on Yulu for their living. And I think the journey has proven that it doesn't matter whether you have raised more money or not, but it definitely matters how persistent you are on your belief, how much conviction you have on your thesis, and how capable you are in keep pushing it and building it. Yulu is a The reason is because Yulu is a product first company. It has built its miracle product. It has also built a supply. It has also built a marketplace, not marketplace. Sorry, it has become a not just a product owner, which is OEM. It also is a shared mobility provider. So these things put together, make the business much harder to manage. But I think they have executed very well, and coming out of pandemic, they are recovering very very fast. So I'm very excited about how Yulu will pan out in the near future.
And what's the view of these large OEMs which are billion-dollar enterprises in India, Bajaj, Hero,
Yeah.
are they also looking to back electric vehicle startups?
They're already engaging with this ecosystem. We know TVS has a stake in Ultraviolet. We know that Bajaj is engaged with our portfolio company called Julu. We know that Mahindra has been in the market looking at some companies. Tata themselves are engaging. Bharat Force bought a company called Torque Bike. So yes, all of these, Hero, for example, has invested in Ather, and so on. So all of the large guys are already engaging with the ecosystem in a deep manner. It is just that we haven't yet seen one of these becoming very, very large. And as and when that happens, we know that those partnerships are successful.
Got it. And let's, because you are already an investor with many early stage companies which you highlighted, what does it go into making an electric vehicle, right? If an entrepreneur wants to build an electric vehicle for the future, what are the capabilities and the capital he needs today?
So I'll tell you yeah, what people have taken so far. So again, nothing against them, but Ather Energy took about 35 to 50 million dollars to come out with for their first scooter. They are very very smart people. I'm sure this was money was well spent, and they were also working in an era when no one understood this. Everything had to be built from scratch, so they had to really reinvent a lot of wheels to come this far. However, Euler has gotten there in less than $10 million, right? So this is definitely very big change. Where Euler successfully launched a vehicle. Second, I think in future, at least in two-wheeler market, you should be able to launch. When I say launch, defined by generating 100 vehicles sales per month or more in less than $1.5 million in less than 18 months. So back in the day, when people used to work with these Chinese mobile phone ODMs, this is what is going to happen here in India as well, where the cost of making it going to come down. And if you are an entrepreneur who's trying to make a new vehicle, I would ask you, why will I invest in you? The answer should always be, I can do it faster and cheaper than what Euler, etc., have done. Only then you will be able to find a lot of people investing in you. It is not an easy thing, because if you're developing a platform from scratch, everything needs work: chassis, motor, software, BMS, charging, front face, the vehicle has to pass safety standards, and so on. Everything has to be done from scratch, but it is possible, in my opinion, to do it with the numbers I mentioned.
And there's a very interesting acronym called CASE. Can you put more light on it?
Well, consulting people and their acronyms. So K stands for connected, A is autonomous, S is shared, and E is electric. So McKinsey has coined this term, ACEs or case, where they're saying the future is case. Future of mobility is case, because it will be electric first, it will be autonomous, it will also be shared, and each of those have implications on how the business of auto sector is going to go in future.
And one more very important thing is which you highlighted earlier is uh, in electric vehicle the OEM controls the entire experience because uh, right, it's almost like building your uh, own Apple devices, which Steve Jobs propelled that it should be done by
And
the
do it yourself.
end to end yourself.
Sure.
Right?
So, in case of electric vehicles, see, okay, this is interesting, and I agree with your assessment, Siddharth. In case, so I am a Maruti car customer. I have a Honda, I have Maruti Swift. This Maruti car was built by Maruti, sold by a certain dealer. So, dealer was a third party. I have never seen the dealer, after a couple of years, and then this car is maintained by a certain certain mechanic, right? So there are three people in the chain. However, in case of electric, because you are going to be able to, you want to be able to engage with the customer long term, you will establish, for example, Tesla has and Ola intends to establish your own grid of charging infrastructure so that more vehicles can be sold. And then you will also have a stake in the maintenance part because your vehicle only you know. So people will have to keep coming to you, or the mechanics will have to be trained or certified by you. So you are controlling the end to end, not just the sales experience, also charging experience, which is every day, and then the maintenance experience also. And eventually, why won't you, for example, make a resale marketplace for the same vehicles at some point? All of those things are going to happen. So I think in electric, the important thing, please note, is that because electric is fundamentally a innovative, very different product, it may feel like it's another vehicle, but it is very similar to, thinking about how very large retailer, think about a future group, would not be a very good e-commerce company because it requires fundamental reinvention, different way of thinking, right? I think this is a very important thing to note, that electric vehicles may look like vehicles, but they require very different mindset to be able to build them, to be able to run them. And it is not just software first. It allows a lot of interesting things which can happen on the vehicle. Therefore, you will want to make sure that the customer is engaged with you entire end to end, and you are delivering a certain application and certain use cases much better than what IC engine vehicles can even imagine, or even, uh, yeah, I don't think they can deliver those experiences.
And what's it for the company to engage? Is there a repeat cost of customer service which they can incur to the
So if
charge
I
from the
could,
customer?
just for argument's sake, if I am a father of a teenage daughter, right? I could simply pay a small fee to make sure that I know where she's taking her vehicle, right? And where she is, or I may geofence it. This does
Yeah.
not exist in IC engine world, and I may pay you, let's say, 100 rupees every quarter for this kind of a service. If I have a younger kid or something, that's just one thing top of my mind. Secondly, can I have a console which can play music, or a console which can show me directions, a console which can play Android apps, a console and a lot of interesting smart features, which, let's say, auto lock, remote locking, remote finding, all of those things can happen in an electric vehicle by default. On top of it, I can talk about, can I have deep insights about my battery, how good I am driving, can the battery management system improve utilization of battery basis how they have learnt my behavior. My smartphone today allows for battery optimization basis how I have used it. In 2 days it learns my behavior, and it optimizes the battery in the same manner, only because it is only software led, right? Similarly, electric vehicles have batteries and battery management system which can allow this. Such things do not exist. How I will utilize the battery will be very different from how you utilize the battery. You may be a different city, you may be a different use case, I have a different use case. So can the vehicles automatically smartly make those decisions? And then very soon you will experience a whole bunch of autonomy driven features which are going to come. It is hard to imagine this happening in two wheeler, but in four wheeler, ADAS is already very common, and level 3 autonomy is going to happen. Yes, level 5 will become very hard in India, but level 3 is easy relatively. Those things are going to happen if you are an electric by default uh, vehicle. And these things will require a fundamental reinvention of the business models of OEM. Today, you might have noticed, Siddharth, if you look at the balance sheet of a Maruti Suzuki, you will find that 40% of their profit comes not from their vehicle sale, but comes from after sales service or spare parts. Now, this is going to go away because the vehicle doesn't require any maintenance, it doesn't require any replacement of parts. So, how do you make money? You can't engage with a dealer whose primary job was not to sell. They don't make much money in selling the vehicle, but they make money, a lot of money, in when people come back with their cars for maintenance. So it requires, everything will undergo a significant change, and I don't think people really understand the kind of paradigm that electric is going to throw them in.
Thank you so much, Arpit. It's been very insightful talking you about the electric vehicle market. We discussed on various aspects of the market, sliced and diced it, and I think very few pieces of content would contain so much detail as this podcast, and different point of views also. Uh, Thanks again for making this happen.
Siddharth, it has been lovely, and thank you for being the curious soul that you've always been. And I'm very happy if some people will get benefited by listening to my views.